The one thing we're starting to see across the entire industry, and this includes all of tech and gaming and everything you want to mention under the sun, is that there seems to be these delays happening, aka because of RAM shortages, and now Western Digital has basically talked about that all the hard drives have been sold into 2026. There is all these things happening that are starting to push towards the delay of consoles. And this isn't just Xbox, PlayStation, and all these big console manufacturers. No. We just got word that Steam Machine is going to be delayed because they want to make sure they're bringing it out at a fair price, and they were going to announce that, but decided to delay it. We're hearing that Nintendo Switch is thinking about jacking up the prices of their consoles. All of this is happening, and Sony, who just had a pretty decent show with their State of Play, is talking about delaying their consoles all the way to maybe 2030 or 2029. I want to get into all of this because there just seems to be this really hard line from publishers, manufacturers, everybody that makes these consoles that they don't want to cross, which is maybe making these consoles $1,000. Let's get into all of this because there are multiple articles and multiple insiders reporting on what we should be expecting from the next-gen consoles. All right, so you know the deal. If you want to be updated on all the gaming news and everything going on in the industry, hit that like button and that subscribe button. It helps out the channel more than you know. So let's just jump right into this. We all know that for a few months now, if not a few weeks, something like that, a lot of industry insiders have been talking about how PlayStation might be delaying their consoles into 2030, and that the reason for this was RAM shortages. Well, it's looking like that might not be the only reason. A lot of manufacturers are starting to come out, Nvidia and a couple other ones, saying that their shortages in hardware is going to be delaying all the new iterations of hardware they want to bring out. So what does that mean for gamers? Well, that means that we're going to be sitting at these Xbox Series consoles and these PS5 consoles for a little while longer. So I just want to jump into the article to give everybody an update on what is being reported. PS6 may be released as late as 2029. The ongoing shortage of memory chips has reportedly led Sony to consider delaying the PS6's release to 2028 or 2029. The shortage of memory chips is impacting the gaming industry significantly. We have already seen GPU manufacturers raise prices or even discontinue certain products. It seems the impact will reach next-gen consoles as well, as first reported by Insider Gaming and now corroborated by Bloomberg. RAM price increases will delay the next-gen console of PlayStation. The PS6 could be pushed to 2029, and Switch 2 price increases being contemplated. So we all know that the RAM prices and everything going on because of AI is a huge problem. We all know that the industry is struggling with it. I think a lot of people are trying to wrap their kind of financial world around it, kind of have a 10-year plan to 5-year plan of what they want to see their consoles be and what they want to bring out to consumers. Well, all of those product plans that they put together have kind of flown out the window because of AI and everything going on with them buying up all the RAM, buying up everything out there, and not to mention Nvidia even coming out and saying we're going to maybe delay what we're trying to bring out from our video cards because it's too expensive to manufacture and then it's too expensive to sell, where consumers are basically not going to buy it. It's going to be all of these AI teams and all of these AI companies that are going to buy it for the data centers. That is an issue. That is going to be a hard thing for not only PlayStation, but Xbox, which is being reported that they are trying to bring out their consoles next year, which the AMD CEO said a little bit ago. Yet right when she said that from AMD, Xbox kind of came out and went through the media and said, I'm not too sure what she's talking about. We don't know if we're going to be ready. And a lot of people like Jez Corden and a couple other people that are really good insiders that know what they're talking about have said that at the earliest, if everything goes right, it's late 2027 for the next-gen Xbox. But seeing all these reports from PlayStation makes me think that Xbox is going to pause and maybe delay their console as well. And I want to jump back into the article because it brings up a little bit more details. The report states that people familiar with the company's thinking have revealed that Sony Group has thought of pushing back the debut of its next PlayStation console to 2028 or even 2029. That's not all. People familiar with Nintendo's plans have also stated that the company is also contemplating raising the price of the Switch 2 in 2026. However, neither Sony nor Nintendo has officially commented on these plans. When discussing the impact of memory prices on current gen consoles, Nintendo has already stated that it will carefully evaluate Switch 2's price amid rising memory costs. Sony, on the other hand, has stated that PlayStation 5 stocks won't be affected by memory shortages until the end of the holiday 2026 season. At the same time, PS6 and PlayStation handheld are claimed to have impressive memory specs, so Sony seems to be in a pickle for their next-gen console. And that's a really good point, because we all know that Sony has mentioned that they aren't going to be affected by this memory and all this stuff going on within PlayStation itself and their consoles, because they have allocated that memory a little while ago to keep PlayStation 5 in stock. I mean, they have sold, I think, about 92 million units of PlayStation 5, and it keeps going up. So they're not worried about going to the next generation console when they have such a huge player base already on PlayStation 5. They're not worried about these price increases because they're going to try to get as many people on their ecosystem as possible and as quickly as possible. So why even push the PlayStation 6? Why push that out when you have something like the PS5 and the PS5 Pro that people can lean on and the company can lean on, because all these people are not going to be jumping to PS6. No consumer is going to jump to the PlayStation 6 right away if it costs $800 to $900, if not $1,000 to get a console. The whole point of a console is that it's accessible. It's not something that's this premier thing that everybody's going to buy, because that's not the way it works. It usually should be around $400 to $500. People get into a gaming system, are able to play current gen games, and that's it. It's not something that's going to break the bank. If you want something that has the insane power, then you go to PC. And we're seeing this now, that even these things like the Nintendo Switch, which is not the most powerful console out there, this thing is not marketed as a power horse to push gaming to the next level. They're even thinking about a price hike for Nintendo. That is showing you how dire the situation is with these companies trying to get people into their platform. That is a problem that I think is going to be here for the next several years. I mean, we're even seeing Xbox sell out of stuff. Xbox doesn't have that many consoles out there because they just stopped making them because it's too expensive. And if they continue to make them, they would have to do a third price hike on their consoles. That's not sustainable whatsoever. I don't think it's going to be something that we're going to see publishers and manufacturers want to do, which is just price out everyone. Maybe Microsoft will do that because they've done some stupid things in the past, but I don't see Sony doing that, and I don't think Nintendo wants to price hike their stuff because, let's be real, they want as many people to buy their stuff and their exclusives because they are extremely reliant on the Switch being successful and all their games selling. So I'm not sure where that goes, right? And they aren't the only ones dealing with this. There's a lot of other manufacturers, even Steam and Valve, who had Jeff Keighley come out and say all Steam Decks are currently out of stock in the US. Per Valve, Steam Deck OLED may be out of stock intermittently in some regions due to memory and storage shortages. That's a problem. Even the Steam Deck that came out years ago, that is not the most powerful thing on the market, that people don't really look to as like a powerhouse where they can play all their big AAA games on, it's more of an indie game kind of handheld, where you can jump into a game here and there, 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and enjoy yourself. But even those are going out of stock because they're too expensive to make. And this is on the heels of the Steam machine trying to come out and make a dent in the market. I'm not too sure when we're going to see these next-gen consoles. I know everybody was saying 2027 was kind of that mark hit that they were looking for, but I think it's honestly going to be around 2029 to 2030 when we actually get these things shipping and into people's hands, into gamers' hands. I don't think people are going to realize how much of an impact this is going to have on them. Because, let's be real, as the article mentions, they're looking at rethinking their whole strategy. That's what's happening currently. And PlayStation just had a pretty good state of play where they talked about a John Wick game, a God of War trilogy remake, all these things. These are starting to look like games that are going to be launching on these next-gen consoles instead of just attaching to them. Like if they come out and then a year later the console comes out and it's backwards compatible, I don't think that's going to happen. I think a lot of these games are going to be the kind of launch for them. So when the PlayStation 6 comes out in 2029, we're going to get that God of War remake with it. We're going to get all these other games that they announced with it. Now, of course, there's some other games coming out like Wolverine this year, a couple other ones that PlayStation has on the docket, But I think like for the next year or two, these announced games that are a little further down the road in development, that are going to take a little while, maybe a year, 2, 3 years to make, I think those are going to look at PS6 launches, because that's what Sony wants, right? They want to have the catalog of games ready to go on the PS6 because they need to make it enticing beyond belief. People are not going to just jump to the PS6 just to jump to it. They're going to jump to it if it has a really good set of games that you can play on it. Exclusives, I think, later on, because of these price hikes, are going to matter even more. This is why PlayStation is doing that. They're kind of leaning into their exclusives a little bit. They're going to bring everything out on PC, and personally, I'm going to wait for them to come out on PC because that's where I want to play their games. But overall, I think they're going to lean into like, hey, the PlayStation 6 have these. They'll come to PC a year later. You can wait if you want, but we're not going to bring them out day one on PC because then that's going to kill their platform. Much like Nintendo doesn't want to destroy their platform because they rely on it. They rely on that revenue that the platform brings. And there's more articles talking about this and about the memory shortages, and I want to go into a few of them. Here's what Eurogamer had to say. Sony is reportedly looking to push back the launch of the PlayStation 6 in response to memory shortages caused by tech giants' continuing AI expansion drive, while Nintendo is said to be considering a price hike. Memory shortages and soaring prices have made headlines in recent times, both issues arising as tech companies continue to push into AI. Substantial amounts of RAM are required to power AI platforms, so as the likes of Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Meta continue to throw money at AI data centers in order to stay competitive, the demand for RAM has increased dramatically. Supply issues and spiraling costs could have a significant impact on consumer electronics, with Valve having already announced a delay for its Steam machines as it grapples with memory and storage shortages. Similarly, Microsoft is reportedly looking to increase the price of its Xbox Series X and S yet again in response to global RAM shortages. As to how Xbox's closeted rivals might respond, Bloomberg, citing people familiar with the company they're thinking, now reports Sony is considering shifting the release of the PlayStation 6 to 2028 or 2029. While the company has never publicly discussed a launch window for its next-gen console, documents leaked in 2022 suggest it wouldn't release PS6 until at least 2027. Since then, reports have surfaced claiming Sony is looking to begin manufacturing its next-gen console early next year for a 2027 release, but some analysts have more recently suggested a launch in 2028 or beyond is now likelier. Bloomberg writes that if Sony delays PS6 into 2028 or 2029 as a result of memory issues, it would be a major upset to a carefully orchestrated strategy to sustain user engagement between hardware generations. Sony's current console PS5 launched in 2020. So let's kind of peel that back a little bit because there's a little bit more information in there. They even said that the documents that leaked a while ago in 2022 mentioned that the console wouldn't come out until at least 2027. So this is before the RAM shortages. This is before everything that's been happening. This is 4 years ago. Put that into perspective. So 4 years ago, Sony was thinking, we can sell the PS5. We're still supporting the PS4. We can maybe get to 2027 before we get more people to want to buy the PS6. Well, I think it's kind of a good thing that they're going to delay it, not only for the price and the consumer, but more so that it gives developers a little bit more time to optimize their current engines that they're working on. Because now, developers aren't going to wait. They can't just not launch a game and not make money because they're going to wait for the next console. That's not how it works. That's not how business works. That's not how engagement on the platform works. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going to have to kind of reiterate what they're developing. They're going to have to really optimize on these things to work on something like a PlayStation 5. And this is for more just first-party people in the industry, that people that work for PlayStation and make PlayStation exclusive games. They're going to optimize the hell out of their stuff so it can work on a PS5 and then later work on a PS6. That is going to happen. And they're going to use the PS5 Pro as a way to kind of showcase a little bit more of what it can do because it's a little bit more powerful of a machine. And we've seen it have some pretty good performance when it comes to AC Shadows and all these other games. So they're going to be able to showcase some of the cool software that they have on a piece of hardware that's already out. That's one thing. The one thing I have to say about Xbox is I don't know how they're going to showcase a lot of things when they have the Series S, which we know is far less powerful than the PS5 and of course far less powerful than the Series X. They are going to have to sustain that optimization across the board until Project Magnus or whatever it's called now, that new next-gen Xbox comes out. They're going to have to really hone in and make sure that the software that they make can run on everything. Because when you bought the Series S, or anybody that did, it came with kind of the promise that it is going to be a next-gen console and you're able to play these next-gen games. I don't know how far that's going to go. Now, I know a lot of people are going to push that Steam Deck and all these other things are not as powerful and they still play those games. Well, that's because it's a PC. You can optimize it any way you want as a consumer. And some games just don't run well on it. You're going to get 15 frames per second. Good luck with that. And other games run great on it. It's all about the optimization and the software allowed there and the freedom for you to play any game on it. That's not what Xbox is. That's not what those consoles were. They are a closed-off ecosystem that developers kind of aim for. And I guarantee you, those developers aim for a Series S and then just kind of give it all the bells and whistles for the Series X. That's all they're going to do. And we've seen developers struggle with it. That's going to happen with PlayStation also. They're going to have to start optimizing these engines to work on lesser hardware. We can't just keep pushing fidelity. We need to make sure that the things that are being made are made well for the console at hand and the consumer has a great experience, not something that they regret later, especially with these price hikes. Everything being shipped out right now is extremely expensive. That's just the rub of it. It is going to be an expensive hobby now. It's not looking like consoles are something for people to just jump in at a good affordable price and you get to play games. That's not going to happen anymore. It's not. It's going to be expensive moving forward. And I think that's a harsh reality. I think it's great we're going to get better optimized games, hopefully, if the developers are smart enough to do that. But I also just see it as something that's going to hurt gamers in the long run and hurt these publishers and these manufacturers in the long run. If they don't respect what consoles are, what they've always been, which is a pretty decent entry price into gaming for people, you're getting those people that don't want the best performance, aren't looking for all the bells and whistles. They just want to turn it on, plug and play, and that's it. Sit on their couch and enjoy themselves. They're not trying to sweat. They're not trying to go crazy competitive. They're not trying to do that. They're trying to just have a good time and play while maybe their family is around. Or just get away from the computer a little bit and veg out. That's what these consoles are made for. It's for those type of gamers. Now, of course, there's people that love playing a bunch of games and they're pretty hardcore and you can use the console for that. Sure, there's a bunch of those people too. But those people are also choosing to buy a console that's affordable instead of going and spending however much it is now to get a PC. For a little bit of a little background, I built a PC a while ago, like about 4 years ago, and it cost me, a couple $1,000s, and it was great. High-end, top of the line, love it. Now, if you do that thing with all the same kind of high-end parts, except, a couple years down the road, it cost almost double, if not more than double than what I spent on my machine. That is an insane jump. That is an insane price hike. So what's going to happen? Consumers are going to look for something more affordable. And is there even going to be an option out there? Is there going to be these consoles, this PlayStation 6, this Xbox Magnus? Are they going to be out there for $500-$600? The Steam machine, is it going to come out at $600, $700? Are people going to be able to jump into gaming at an affordable price? Or are they going to have to break the bank or even find a new hobby? That's what I think the industry needs to kind of wrap their head around, is understand what things are going to cost. And all these manufacturers that are making these things and these price hikes maybe need to make a stand against AI and understand that some of these companies are just trying to choke out others, and it's hurting the consumers and the people using any product out there that it comes to tech. It's going to hurt them. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with all the stuff going on, the price hikes? Do you agree with the delay? Do you think that these consoles are still have a good life cycle, the Xbox Series X and the PS5? Are they going to optimize them? Is developers going to aim for that and actually make better optimized games? Or do you think they're just going to keep pushing the hardware and demand more for PlayStation and Xbox, and we're going to be the ones that suffer and have to pay out the nose to just get into gaming? Let me know down below. I don't think it's going to end well. I think that the delay is a smart move by Sony, and I think Xbox is going to do the same. And I think Steam Machine is in a lot of trouble because they wanted to launch this year when all this stuff is happening. If Nintendo's thinking of a price hike, you better believe Valve is. Go down below. Let me know what you think. And of course, hit that like button and that subscribe button. Helps out the channel more than you know. And you can follow me on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing the latest news. I enjoy interacting with people on there, so it's been a lot of fun there. Follow me on that. And of course, let me know what games you're playing. I've always kind of talked about gaming with people in the comments. I enjoy that process, talking about games. I've been playing a lot of Black Myth Wukong. I've really been enjoying it. I was late to that thing about 1.5 years ago, and I have to say it is an amazing game. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I've been playing it on PC. It runs great, smooth. I'm just having a lot of fun. I think it's great. And I just bought Liza P with the DLC. I think that's the next game after Black Myth Wukong I'm going to jump into. But there's also games coming out like Crimson Desert, Marathon, a bunch of games. Not to mention Diablo 2 just brought out a new expansion, which is hilarious. I'm jumping into that. Playing a lot of games. So let me know what you're playing down below. So it's always good to talk about games and seeing what you're playing. Let's enjoy the hobby we love, which is gaming. And that's all for now. And like always, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.